So according to this white man, he sent a strong message across to entire black South Africans. He was specific while he was trying to address them. To be very honest, I got touched as a black person listening to him.
I'm really upset at black people. Not black Africans, black South Africans. Because really, you're going to blame people who make up 3 to 4% of the population but have very little wealth, influence and land in the country. And you're not going to blame the 7% of white people who control 70% of the wealth and land and power in the country. And just a reminder, in 1994 it was closer to 90%. You see, we whites trained you so well. Let the colorist propaganda work. Fight each other. And the white man keeps winning at your expense. Just as a reminder, Ghanaians never colonized you. Basotho sa Lesotho didn't create apartheid, but, they worked alongside your grandfathers and uncles in the mines. Nigerians did not take the best land for themselves and leave you with the Bantustans. White people did. But your fellow Africans were brutalized, exploited, abused, and treated less than, just like you. There's a reason why this man was unalived, because Ntatehane understood that political freedom means nothing without economic freedom to back it up. Why do you think you are fighting foreigners? Stop fighting the foreigners and understand, if you want real change, you have to stand up against the real problem. White people.
It's interesting, we heard from the minister of DRC, what's wrong with your country? Well, we don't even start by saying the King of Belgium created a slave colony for 30 years. The government of Belgium ran the slave colony for another 40 years. The CIA, your first popular leader, Mr. Lumumba, and then installed another dictatorship for the next 30 years. And then Glencore and others now suck out your cobalt without giving you tax income. We don't reflect on that. We say, what's wrong with you? Why don't you govern properly? And so we have a system, but we need a different system. We cannot turn this over to the private sector. We already did about 100 years ago. Not only to the private sector with the U.S. military behind it.
There's two sides to this story, and this is what you talk about fairness. So let's mention, for example, the economic impact that shows, our own statistics, South Africa show, that each immigrant that is having a business here employs at least 3 to 4 people, contributes taxes. Nobody ever talks about that. We never talk about the dysfunctionality of Home Affairs in terms of its documentation crisis, where most people who are deemed, quote, illegal are simply without documentation. We don't talk about the 4 million South African citizens who are undocumented, who have to wait years for their documentation. What about them? It's a documentation crisis. It's a systemic crisis. And what we're saying is, we recognize, I wonder why, for example, there was no mention of the Kopanang African Xenophobia March, which happened 2 weeks ago in this very city with hundreds and hundreds of people with the different kind of message. We don't talk about these things. So we're creating a very similar kind of thing to the United States, which is this anger that is then directed towards those who, by the way, built this city that we're very much in. Migrants built this city from Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Miners who worked here, who created much of the wealth of the city we live in. And now we're trying to blame them for all of these ills, when in fact, if we start looking at the factual information about joblessness, there's no statistical evidence. There's no evidence to suggest the foreign nationals are taking away many, many jobs. What we have is we have a macroeconomic policy that basically privileges corporate capital and big investments and doesn't support small-scale township economies. So if, for example, you even kick out all the spaza shop owners tomorrow and say all the foreign nationals are owned and every single South African citizen, would those small-scale businesses survive because of our own policies? No. You ask a South African spaza shop owner, they're facing exactly the same problems. So instead of making this an immigration foreign citizen issue, we should make it a governance issue, a policy issue, and politicians have a lot to answer for, because that's where people are protesting. Water, electricity, education, health, housing. Those can't be blamed on foreign nationals who make up, by the way, less than 4% of our population.
You come to Africa, you dig up the whole place and leave mining dumps, poisoning rivers, with cyanide, only to bring the gold and put it in a warehouse somewhere here you call a vault. You come to Africa, you kill animals, only to collect the horns and leaving the meat to rot on the ground. Are you okay? And then when they see us putting on skins like this, they want to look like they're conservationists. No, you can't be putting on animal skins, but you're sitting on a leather chair with leather shoes, with a leather belt. Are you okay in your head? With a leather car. What kind of hypocrisy is that? You pollute the whole world with carbon. Then you come around and say, please, let's do some green energy. Shut your industries up if you're talking about green energy. You have lied to us for too long. And the honeymoon of lies is over. Hitler kills 2 million white people. He is the most evil man that ever lived. Leopold kills 20 million Africans. He still does not appear on the list of the most wicked people that ever lived on the earth. There must be something wrong with this narrative. Totally something wrong with that narrative. It can't be right by day, by night, by numbers, by mathematics, by ethnography. It cannot be right. That the whole world watches the massacre of black people and says nothing.